Hello, I'm Bruce DuPoit. Coming up, nearly 2 years after county police shot John Gear in the doorway of his Springfield home, an officer is indicted. Why it took the legal system so long to reach this point, and what lessons Fairfax officials learned along the way. Also, bad blood in Richmond. Governor Terry McAuliffe and the Virginia Assembly go at each other over the nomination of a Fairfax judge to the state's highest court and redistricting. Both issues now at a stalemate. Reporter Michael Pope covers the Commonwealth for WAMU 88.5. His take on all this straight ahead. Then, is 2016 going to be the year of the outsider? Candidates like Donald Trump and Ben Carson seem to be connecting with the electorate in a way that establishment candidates are not. And is it time to reconsider birthright citizenship? A once fringe concept gains momentum on the right. We'll hear from commentator Dan Bongino. Hi, everybody. Welcome. It's good to have you with us today. Nearly 2 years after a Fairfax man was gunned down by police in the doorway of his own home, an indictment against one of the officers involved. Adam Torres has been charged in the death of John Gear. Gear was involved in a standoff with police at the time he was shot. Other officers who were there say Gear's hands were up. Torres, though, is fighting the charges. WAMU 88.5 reporter Michael Pope has been covering this story in depth for some time, and he joins us now. Welcome back. It's good to have you with us.
Great to be here. Thank
It's taken a long time, but we're finally in the courtroom. We're finally at the point of an indictment. It looked for a while as though we would never reach this point, and that was a source of frustration for many.
It looked for a long time that we wouldn't even know the name of the officer who killed Gear. I mean, let's remember that the Fairfax County Police Department kept the name of the officer secret.
Hang on for 1 second, Michael. We want to take folks to Atlanta now. Jimmy Carter talking now for the first time about his recent cancer diagnosis. Let's listen in.
Cancer before they operated on August the 3rd and removed it. The tumor was only about 2.5 cubic centimeters, but they removed about 85 cubic centimeters, which is about a tenth of my liver. And they did a biopsy and found that it was indeed cancer, and it was melanoma. And they had a very high suspicion then and now that the melanoma started somewhere else on my body and spread to the liver. The doctors tell me that about 98% of all the melanoma is skin cancer, and about 2% of the melanomas are internal. So then I came back up here after that, and they did a biopsy and found that they did an MRI and found that there were 4 spots of melanoma on my brain. They are very small spots, about 2 millimeters, if you can envision what a millimeter is. And I'll get my first radiation treatment for the melanoma in my brain this afternoon. And then I understand I'll have 4 treatments scheduled at 3-week intervals. In addition to that, yesterday they fitted me with a mask to hold my head perfectly still while the radiation goes in the right places, and I'm all prepared for that, which takes place this afternoon. In addition, they have given me an IV for 30 minutes of pembrolizumab, and this is a medicine that they use for melanoma that enhances the activity of the anti-immune system. And this is medicine that's been approved in the United States. There are similar ones that have also been tested in Europe. My doctors and they will also continue to scan other parts of my body with MRI and CAT scan and PET scan to see if and where the melanoma originated. And so that'll be an ongoing examination of my body for the next number of months, I presume, if that goes on that long. Dr. Juan Sarmiento is a doctor at Emory that did the surgery on my liver. Dr. David Lawson is a specialist on melanoma, and Dr. Curran, who's here, is a specialist on radiation treatment, and he's in charge of the Winship Cancer Center. And they're working very closely with other cancer centers around this nation, in particular, MD Anderson Center in Houston, Texas, the National Cancer Institute, Sloan Kettering, and others. I've had a lot of people call and recommend different places, and I referred those offers of help to the doctors, and they have reached out to get their acquiescence or approval of what they've decided to do in the treatment. For a number of years, Rosa and I have planned on dramatically reducing our work at the Carter Center, but haven't done it yet. We thought about this when I was 80. We thought about it again when I was 85. We thought about it again when I was 90. And so this is a propitious time, I think, for us finally to carry out our long-delayed plans. So I'm going to cut back fairly dramatically on my obligations at Emory, at the Carter Center. As you know, the Carter Center has a full legal partnership with Emory. Half of our trustees are selected by Emory, and we approve them, and vice versa. The president of Emory University is on our board of trustees, as is Rosa and I. And we have built up a fairly substantial endowment to tide the Carter Center over when I'm not any longer able to raise funds. We have now about a little over $600 million in our endowment. But I'll continue to sign letters requesting contributions and making key calls to people that might be prospects for funding. So I'll continue with the funding. The trustee meetings at Carter Center, I'll continue to attend those. And I'd like to also to schedule the regular meetings with our fellows and directors as they give detailed reports quite regularly on what we're doing with the fight against guinea worm and with our peace programs and other health programs and so forth. So I'll continue to do that. I can't really anticipate how I'll be feeling, obviously, but I'll have to defer quite substantially to my doctors in charge of the treatment. I understand that the radiation treatments and also the injections will be every 3 weeks for 4 times, and they'll stop and take a look at what the results might have been. And I'll try to adhere to that schedule as much as possible. The Carter Center is well prepared to continue on without any handicap if Rosa and I do back away from a lot of the activities that we've been doing. We have decided last March that our grandson Jason would take over as the chairman of the board, replacing Oz Nelson, which is Oz Nelson's suggestion. And the Board of Trustees made that decision in March to be effective at our meeting in November. So Jason will be the chairman of the Board of Trustees of Carter Center, which is a body that makes the ultimate decisions about what projects that Carter works on and budget matters and things of that kind. And then, of course, if he wants me to give him advice, I'll be delighted to do it, as I've done some other people in the past. I was a chairman for a while, but I stepped down a number of years ago to give other people a chance to work on it. So I'll try as best I can to continue my work as a professor at Emory and to attend some of the meetings, but I would say that the rest of my plans will be determined by my consultations with the doctors and what I need to do to get adequate treatment for the melanoma that exists, at least has existed in my liver. They think they got it all there, but has shown up now in 4 places in my brain, and is likely to show up other places in my body as the scans detect it in the future. So that's all I wanted to say to you, but I'll be glad to answer a couple of questions if you have them.
Good morning, President Carter.
Morning.
Lori Geary with WSB-TV.
Yes.
Just want to get, what was your initial reaction, when you heard that C word, the cancer word, and, what doctors have said about your prognosis? You seem very optimistic. Your spirits are very good.
Well, at first I felt that it was confined to my liver and that the operation had completely removed it, so I was quite relieved. And then that same afternoon, we had an MRI of my head and neck, and it showed up that it was already in 4 places in my brain. So I would say that night and the next day until I came back up to Emory, I just thought I had a few weeks left. But I was surprisingly at ease. You know, I've had a wonderful life. I've had thousands of friends, and I've had an exciting and adventurous and gratifying existence. So I was surprisingly at ease, much more so than my wife was. But now I feel, you know, that it's in the hands of God, whom I worship, and I'll be prepared for anything that comes. Thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes, Susan. Oh, hi.
Mr. President, you just said that you expect that there will be further cancers diagnosed.
Yes.
So was it at all difficult, given the fact you also just said that you thought maybe it was a matter of a few weeks, was it difficult at all to decide to go ahead with treatment? I mean, does your faith play any role in the fact that you did that, or did you consider at any time not doing anything at all?
No, I never have doubted that I would carry out the recommendations of the Emory doctors. And so when they said that they wanted to go ahead and find out other places that might show up cancer and treat them, I'm perfectly at ease with that. And I'm perfectly at ease with whatever comes. You know, I do have deep religious faith, which I'm very grateful for. And I was pleasantly surprised that that I didn't go into an attitude of despair or anger or anything like that. I was just completely at ease. As Rosa would testify, I think if you have any doubts about my veracity, but I've just been very grateful for that part of it. So I'm ready for anything and looking forward to a new adventure.
Former President Jimmy Carter talking to reporters and others at the Carter Center in Atlanta, disclosing for the first time that the melanoma that was in his liver has now spread. It has spread to his brain. Mr. Carter telling reporters a few moments ago that doctors found 4 small spots of melanoma in his brain, and he will begin radiation treatment on all of that this afternoon. He expects to go back and receive additional follow-up treatment in 3-week intervals. Doctors, Mr. Carter said, President Carter said, will need to determine where the melanoma originated, and it will be no surprise if, in fact, they find more. Mr. Carter is 90. He's been the former president of the United States for about 35 years now, a remarkable tenure, one of the most highly regarded former presidents in U.S. history. He keeps a very robust schedule. He said he'll be cutting back a bit on his schedule while he undergoes treatment. No surprise there. He will continue his fundraising for some of the key initiatives now underway at the Carter Center, and as you heard him say, he's also a professor at Emory University. At the end, the former president was asked how he's absorbing all this. He described himself as being surprisingly at ease, in contrast with the reaction of his wife, who is no doubt concerned and hopeful about his treatment and his prognosis. Live coverage for you here on News Channel 8. We'll take a quick break. Back to our conversation with Michael Pope of WAMU right after this.